7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Greetings, my fellow low-sovereign thinkers. Thank you for tuning to LL3 Podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful realms of planet Earth. Today's date is Thursday, February 5th, 2026. Is episode 8, 1935. The Private Trials and Troubles of Abraham Lincoln. Before I proceed, you can find me on multiple social media sites and podcast channels. Just type in Loki Luck number 3, Loki Luck Roman number 3, 3 eyes, or the Loki Luck Roman 3 podcast. In addition, if you have any questions, comments, recommendations, all that good stuff, whatever you do, please use decorum. Hit me via email to ll3.podcast@proton.me. If you want to donate, go to paypal.me or cash.app/Loki Luck number 3. Oh, man. Yeah, I just got a little bit injured trying to do something, and I'm okay right now. It's just a little bit swollen, but I'm not a cripple or anything like that. So just to let you folks know, I'm doing okay. Yeah, and that's, like I said, I've just been busy, focusing on a few other things as usual. Try to be a bit more consistent on my show, and I do apologize for that. And just trying to do my own thing, you can say. And even people get hooked on psyops, you can say, regardless of paradigm. They call right-wingers Nazis. You don't even know what right-wing means, right? Right-wing means limited government. Less limited government. There's too many lefties out there from both major parties in the United States and beyond. But what can we say about it, right? Always think and act locally. Don't get caught in all the hype and hoopla. Don't entrap yourselves by being a faction slave. Hire a gun whatsoever. You hear all sides and observe responsibly. That's always been my recommendation for everyone that listens to the show. Well, enough for the brief rant here. I'm going to proceed with this article. Came from the Epoch Times under Bright, which is pretty cool. And this one's entitled Under American Essence. So if you want to check out the Epoch Times, do it. They do have trial subscription rates and all that. And you can make your own judgment. This one's entitled The Private Trials and Troubles of Abraham Lincoln. This is written by Jeff Minnick. Came out today. All human beings have flaws and weaknesses. Abraham Lincoln was a human being. Therefore, Abraham Lincoln had flaws and weaknesses. The simple categorical syllogism is valid, yet we often forget that the historical luminaries we considered heroes struggled with private difficulties and imperfections, just like the rest of us. Many Americans regard Abraham Lincoln not only as a hero who rose his head and shoulders above the men and women of his time, literally as well as a figuratively, but also a near mythological figure from the past. He appears on the U.S. penny, the $5 bill, and the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, which resembles a Greek temple. Historians and the public alike rightly regard him as one of the greatest of our presidents. Yet, that when Lincoln entered the White House with the nation on the verge of civil war, we should remember that he carried his own troubles and defects. Here are two pieces of his personal baggage. Marriage. With some exceptions, like his choice of Andrew Johnson as his running mate in 1864 presidential election, Lincoln was a good judge of character. He assembled a team of rivals for his cabinet made up of men with opinions at odds with his own and with each other. Lincoln had studied them and deemed each worthy of a place in the government. Regarding marriage, however, his discernment was lacking. Perhaps he was blinded by love, confusion, or fear of marriage itself. Precisely why he and Mary Todd Mary remains a question unsettled by historians. Passion and emotion don't come with cut and dried explanations. High-strung, flirtatious, and easily given to anger and scorn, Mary Todd was born into wealth, was well-educated and bright, and enjoyed high society and spending money. The couple became engaged in 1840. Sorry about that. Just before the wedding in January 1841, Lincoln broke off the engagement, probably because of his growing doubts about the marriage and the disapproval of her family. Nearly 2 years would pass before the couple, having patched up their differences, were married in November 1842. While Lincoln and Mary loved each other, it was a mismatch that brought both good and bad to his political life. His chief fault as husband was his frequent indifference to Mary's troubles. Meanwhile, Mary was ambitious and pushed her husband to excel, but when he became president, she sometimes overstepped, demanding favors from other politicians, from members of the Lincoln cabinet. She was often lavish with money they didn't have, spending it on expensive clothing and unnecessary accoutrements, and could become enraged when annoyed with Lincoln. Colonel Alexander McClure, who worked with Lincoln, later wrote of Mary, in her figure and physical proportions and education, bearing, temperament, history, and everything, she was an exact reverse of Lincoln. Yet Lincoln had learned early on to play the diplomat with his wife. Michael Burlingame's biographical book, The Inner World of Abraham Lincoln, records the instances of his docility. Once have granted her wishes on a smaller matter in the White House, he told friends, "If you knew how little harm it does me and how much it does her, you wouldn't wonder that I am meek." Deep, dark depression, closely associated with Lincoln's broken engagement in January 1841, was a depression that rendered him so ill that he took to bed from January 13th to 19th. He was absent from his seat in the Illinois legislature. He had experienced melancholia his entire life, but this time was different. His law partner, William Herndon, who in his biography on Lincoln later described him as crazy as loon, feared his friend was on the verge of suicide, though others considered that claim exaggerated. Now, there was even claims that he was schizophrenic too. That Lincoln suffered, however, is beyond doubt. On January 23rd, he wrote to former law partner John Stuart, "I am now the most miserable man living. If what I feel were equally distributed to the whole human family, there would not be one cheerful face on the earth. Whether I shall ever be better, I cannot tell. I awfully forebode I shall not. To remain as I am is impossible. I must die or be better, it appears to me." With help of friends, Lincoln recovered from his bout of depression. He will continue wrestling for the rest of his life with the hypo, as he called it, short for hypochondria. Friends and visitors to the White House frequently commented on the sadness that marked him, yet he never again suffered so devastating a setback. He learned a valuable lesson. He would be better. He encouraged other sufferers of depression, telling them that even the blackest episode would pass. In late 1862, after learning of the dark sadness that had settled on a young acquaintance, Fanny McClough, after the death of her father in the Civil War, he sent her words of advice that helped in her recovery. "I am anxious to afford some alleviation of your present distress. Perfect relief is not possible except with time. You can now realize that you will ever feel better if this is so, and yet it is a mistake. You're sure to be happy again. To know this, which is certainly true, will make you some less miserable now. I have had experience enough to know what I say, and you need only to believe it to feel better at once. The memory of your dear father, instead of agony, will yet be at sad, sweet feeling in your heart of a pure and humbler sort than you have known before. In another letter to a stricken friend, he described her depression as a misfortune, not at fault. A lesson in character. No matter how many accolades are heaped on men and women that the world considers great, all of them are human, which means all have troubles and interior difficulties. But the greatest of the great are the ones who, like Lincoln, fight against their shortcomings rather than tolerate or indulge them. He honored his imperfect marriage, keeping his equanimity when Mary rallied against him or others. He fought off depression with the sword and shield of hope that the darkness would again become light. Would you have a great empire? Rule over yourself is a quote attributed to Publius Cyrus, a Roman slave and writer of aphorism. Lincoln ruled over himself. One of the reasons why I've started to read this, because I know next week will be his birthday, and even a person like myself got to look at all sides of this particular individual. And I've read books about him, like The Great Lincoln by Thomas J. Lorenzo and Lincoln Unmasked. And there's a lot of darkness he actually executed or got people to engage in. We have to always question these things. And I know you had a rough childhood as well, even during the day he got assassinated, which in my honest opinion, he pissed off the banksters. With the war for Southern independence, what they call war between the states, who actually were victorious? The Rothschilds, the banksters. And this is why I always try to see things a lot more thorough and just look at one side as a whole. And I always encourage people to do that when you study history. Try to read much as you can, even if you disagree. And you can make your own assessment or viewpoint on it. Because there's a lot of issues that happened during his time of presidency, even as a legislator. But we have to look at his flaws and personal issues or demons. We need to conquer it all the best we can, folks. Maximize our strengths, minimize our flaws to the greatest of our capabilities. We all have our ups and downs, including yours truly. But it doesn't mean we can just forfeit or submit on living. We live once, my friends. Value it. And be a good neighbor. That's half the battle. Well, that's my intake on this article. I'd like to hear what you had to say. And that will be it. I thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share throughout your social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, recommendations, all that good stuff, whatever you do, please use decorum. Hit me via email to ll3.podcast@proton.me. Plus, I'll leave the article on this episode so you can check it out for yourselves when I publish it. If you want to donate, go to PayPal.me or cash.app/looklike3. If you want to support or subscribe to the Epoch Times, do that and observe responsibly. Once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that the demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading the love. May your guardian spirits be with you.